On your formula sheet, you have a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of big A, or b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of big B, or c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c. So these are the law of cosine. If you notice, if it starts with little a, it ends with big A. If it starts with little b, it ends with big B. And if it starts with little c, it ends with big C, okay? So you've got to see what the problem says, what the problem gave you, and what they want you to find in order for you to use this. Now, I'm going to point out to you why you can't use a law of sine on these problems, because you don't have a full fraction. Remember I was always telling you about the full fraction for law of sine? Well, if you don't have a full fraction, you can't use the law of sine, so you're stuck and you got to use the law of cosine. But sometimes, once you find one thing with the law of cosine, you can find the rest with the law of sine. As soon as you get a full fraction, you can move back to the law of sine, which is a little easier to deal with. You're not dealing with all those numbers. Got it? Notice that the beginning of the formula starts with a squared, b squared, or c squared. So once you solve the right side of the equation and you get a number, that's equal to a squared. So you have to square root it to find a. So there's a lot of math here that you've got to pay attention to. And there's a lot of ways you can mess up, okay? If you were to get a triangle that has two sides, let's say 17 and 15, and your answer is 400, you know you didn't square root it. So kind of pay attention to your answer. The third side can't be 400. You can't build a triangle with 17, 15, and then 400. You wouldn't be able to fit that side there. So kind of look at your answer and say, does this make sense? Consequently, if you get a side that's 0.002, that's probably not right either. Got it? That's too small. So once you get your answer, kind of analyze it. What I want you to do in your formula sheet is underline this section of the formula, because those guys need to stick together until you can get them apart, okay? So if they're looking for BC, I like to translate that to what the letter would go with it. So since it's BC, it's little a. Does everybody got that down pat, that it's little a that we're looking for? Because it's across from big A. So when they give you big A, you have to use the formula that has a big A. And I'm going to go ahead and make this little b, the 13, and 14 is the little c. Okay? And they want us to find a. These are actually easy. Your calculator does all of the work, and all you do is just stand by and watch. So, a squared, we're looking for a, equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of big A. Does everybody see that? This is easy because you have everything on the right side of the equal sign, so you just put it all in the calculator just how you see it. Go ahead and do that. Remember I told you this is what a squared equals to. So if I want to find a, I square root both sides. When I square root a squared, I get plain a, which is what I'm looking for. And when I square root the right side, I get 21 point what?
71. That's our final answer.
And that is, does that make sense? Your biggest angle is across from your biggest side, and it's not too big. It looks like that might be the answer. I might not be able to find the a right away, but I sure can find other things to get to where I can find the a, okay? So they gave me big C, and I don't have little c. So I'm going to put the little c right there. I know this is little b, and this is little a. Since I have big C, I can use the law of cosine to find little c. Is that what they're asking for? Nope. But I can't find big A right now using the law of cosine or the law of sine, okay? I don't have a full fraction, and I don't have any way of finding big A right now. So I'm going to find little c, and little c would be the formula c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of big C, which ends up, we don't know C, but we know A, 15 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 15 times 14 times cosine of 65. Go ahead and find little c. So c squared is 243.50, and it should be 15 point something. What is it?
0.6.
60?
Yes.
Okay. So c is 15.60. So I can find big A using the formula a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of big A. Or I can switch over now to the law of sine, because it's easier to deal with.
You got a full one.
Because now I have a full fraction. So I know that the sine of 65 over 15.6 equals the sine of big A over little a. And now since we're looking for an angle, what button are we going to push?
Second.
15 sine of 65 equals 15.6 sine of big A. And we divide by 15.6 to find big A. So second sine of that will give us big A. So big A equals 60.61.